You think it's just fabric, just a pair of jeans, a crop top, a slogan tee. Maybe it's a look trending on TikTok. Maybe it's something your best friend wears, and you didn't want to be left behind. But what if the clothes you wear are more than style? What if they are silently scripting your value, your future, your suffering, without you even knowing? Let's go deeper. There's a girl standing in front of the mirror. She's adjusting the straps of her top. She tugs it down just a little, wants to look confident, bold. Her eyes flicker with uncertainty. But the mirror doesn't reflect her soul. It reflects what the world expects of her. And what the world expects is not always what is best. Here's the paradox. In a society that claims to celebrate self-expression, why do so many girls feel most accepted when they look like everyone else? If you're truly free, why do you dress in chains made of trends? Why does empowerment sometimes feel like pressure? Why does confidence feel like camouflage? These aren't surface-level fashion questions. They go deeper. This is about identity, about psychology, about the way something as simple as a dress or a label can wrap itself around your sense of worth like a quiet noose. There's a whisper in the air, one you've heard but maybe never noticed. It goes, "Wear this, and you'll be loved. Dress like this, and you'll belong. If you don't, you'll be invisible." But where did those voices come from? Who taught you that your body had to be on display to be respected? Who said that covering up meant you were weak, repressed, or ashamed? Who profits from your confusion? Now ask yourself, when was the last time you wore something purely for you? Not for likes, not for male attention, not because you were afraid of looking basic or weird. Just for you. See, the real war isn't about what's on your body. It's about what's in your mind. And if we're being brutally honest, most people don't choose what they wear. They're chosen by culture, by insecurity, by unspoken rules that dictate who gets love and who gets left out. We live in a strange contradiction. Girls are told to be confident, but then rewarded only when that confidence is sexualized, told to be natural, but only if it fits within the narrow limits of Instagram beauty filters, told to be different, but only within the safety of acceptable rebellion. So how free are you, really? Here's the real question. What if some of the things girls wear are not expressions of freedom, but symptoms of cultural hypnosis? And what if that hypnosis doesn't just affect how others see you, but how you see yourself? The human brain is built to adapt, to blend in, to survive. But in a culture that worships image over soul, adaptation becomes self-erasure. Girls learn to wear what makes them visible to others, even if it makes them invisible to themselves. And that's the most dangerous look of all. Looking seen while feeling hollow. It starts young. A girl is praised for being pretty before she's praised for being wise. She's complimented on her dress before her courage. She's taught, subtly, consistently, that her value lies in how desirable she appears, not how deeply she thinks. So she starts dressing, not for her becoming, but for her approval. But here's the philosophical tragedy. The more you dress for approval, the further you drift from your essence. You no longer choose, you conform. You no longer wear, you are worn. You become a mannequin for someone else's projection. Clothes stop being fabric. They become armor. They become bait. They become chains, all while being sold as freedom. Do you feel the weight of that? Now, this is not about shame. This is about awakening, about reclaiming what fashion was supposed to be. An outward symbol of inner truth, not a desperate performance for external validation. Because here's the danger that no influencer talks about. Some clothes can make you disappear from yourself. And what's the cost of being stylish if the price is your soul? So let's talk, not about modesty versus modernity, not about slut-shaming or purity culture. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about integrity, about intention, about psychological sovereignty. This isn't about rules, it's about recognizing the game. You've been playing without realizing it. A girl who wears what society tells her to wear might feel beautiful for a moment. But a girl who wears what resonates with her, inner wisdom, that's a girl who glows. Not because she's trendy, but because she's true. And here's where it gets even more powerful. The things girls should never wear are often the things they think they have to wear. That's the trick. That's the trap. So what are these 7 things? What if one of them is that one shirt you wear even though it makes you feel small? What if one of them is an accessory that was never meant to adorn, but to distract? What if one of them isn't even an outfit, but a label? Stick with me, because once we name them, once we see them for what they are, not style statements, but psychological compromises, everything begins to shift. You'll walk into your closet differently. You'll scroll past that fashion ad and feel something crack in your chest. You'll try on that old dress and finally understand why it never felt quite right. Because now you'll see the invisible threads, and when you do, you'll never be able to unsee them again. Coming up next. Number 1. And why it's not what you think. But before we reveal that, I want to know your thoughts. What's one item you've worn that felt like a performance instead of self-expression? Drop it in the comments. Let's break the silence together. Each of these 7 things isn't just fabric or fashion. It's a symptom, a mirror, a message. And if you look closely, you'll realize they're not just clothes. They're decisions. And sometimes those decisions are silently eating away at your worth. Let's begin. 1. Clothes that are too tight for comfort. You've seen it, maybe worn it. That dress you can't breathe in. The jeans that cut into your stomach. The top that keeps sliding down, and you're constantly pulling it up. You tell yourself it's worth it because you look good. But here's the psychological trap. When you sacrifice comfort for aesthetics, you teach yourself over and over that your appearance matters more than your peace. But ask yourself, why do you have to suffer to be seen? Wearing discomfort to feel worthy is a quiet form of self-abandonment. It whispers to your nervous system, you're only lovable when you're smaller, squeezed, contorted. Over time, this internalizes as self-harm disguised as fashion. The pain becomes familiar, even addictive. Real power? Wearing something that makes you breathe easier, not harder. Tuka. Slogan tease. That joke about trauma or toxicity. You've seen them. Emotionally unavailable. Hot mess. I have no soul before coffee. They seem funny, ironic, harmless, but every word you wear is a spell you cast over your identity. When you label yourself as broken or chaotic, even in jest you're rehearsing dysfunction. You're signaling to your psyche and to others that you're defined by your wounds, not your wisdom. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." These shirts make your unconscious pain your fashion statement. Never forget, what you wear declares who you are. Make sure you're not building a prison out of punchlines. 3. Hypersexualized outfits worn only for validation. This one's controversial. Let's be clear. Sexuality is powerful, But when your clothing becomes a performance solely to provoke external desire, when your worth is tied to how many stares you get, you've traded empowerment for approval. The most dangerous part? It feels like power at first. But real power doesn't make you feel empty after the party. Real power doesn't attract people who love your body and ignore your soul. Jordan Peterson warns about this. If you present yourself as only one thing, don't be surprised when people treat you as only that. Ask yourself, who taught you that exposure equals confidence? Then ask, who benefits when you believe that lie? Wear what brings you peace, what honors your growth, what reflects your inner strength, not your cultural submission. Coming up next, the hidden problem and its psychological roots. But first, pause. Look in your closet. What's one item you've been keeping that makes you feel less than you are? Drop it in the comments. And if this stirred something in you, subscribe. Because in the next section, we're going deeper into the unconscious mind, the philosophical wounds, and the societal structures that made these outfits dangerous to begin with. Why does a girl reach for a crop top that makes her feel anxious in the cold? Why does she buy heels that make her wince after 20 minutes? Why does she wear confidence but feel shame underneath? It's not because she's vain. It's not because she's shallow. It's because she's been taught, systematically, silently, and from every direction, that her value is earned through visibility, not presence. This isn't a fashion issue. It's a psychological conditioning loop, a philosophical misfire, a war on the soul disguised as style. Let's tear the curtain down, the myth of empowerment through objectification. Modern society has sold girls a clever lie. You're not being objectified, you're empowered. You're not dressing for men, you're reclaiming your body. You're not following trends, you're setting them. But think carefully. If empowerment means constantly focusing on your appearance, always needing external praise, and feeling exposed unless you perform, is that really freedom? Or is it the illusion of freedom? Jean-Paul Sartre warned of this when he wrote about the gaze of the other. When you see yourself through others' eyes, when your identity is built on how you're perceived, you stop being you. You become an image, a brand, a walking poster. You become your own prison. The conditioning begins early, before you can fight it. From childhood, girls are wrapped in pink, praised for being cute. Dolls, glitter, tutus, makeup kits. While boys are told to build, conquer, destroy, girls are taught to decorate themselves. Little girls twirl in mirrors. They're taught to smile for strangers, complimented for appearance before character. Do you see the trap? Carl Jung would call this a distortion of the anima, the feminine principle, not nurtured into strength, but reduced to seduction. Instead of helping girls unfold, the world demands they perform. So she grows up wearing roles. She dresses like the cool girl, the baddie, the it girl. But inside, she might not even know who she is anymore. Fashion as disassociation. The Jungian shadow in your closet. Every time you wear something that isn't you, you strengthen the shadow, that hidden self you avoid, the one that knows you're tired of being watched, judged, consumed. But you keep dressing up the image anyway. Why? Because silence is rewarded with attention, because pain is numbed by likes, because the mask is easier to maintain than revealing the truth underneath. Jung taught that if you suppress the shadow, it grows darker. And eventually it controls you. It whispers, just wear the dress, smile, be desirable. Then maybe you'll be loved. But what's the cost? You feel like a stranger in your own skin. And no one, even you, knows the real you anymore. The culture of cosmetic identity. In a world built on image, the surface is everything. Aldous Huxley saw this coming. In Brave New World, he warned of a future where pleasure replaces depth, and fashion becomes identity. We're here now. Look around. Curated feeds, filtered bodies, branded emotions. Girls aren't just dressing for parties, they're dressing for algorithms. Instagram doesn't reward wisdom, it rewards waistlines. TikTok doesn't push vulnerability, it pushes virality. So girls adapt, not because they're shallow, but because survival requires conformity. The true self? It waits in silence, buried beneath crop tops and captions. Schopenhauer's curse. The need to be noticed. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that suffering comes from will, a ceaseless craving to be more, to be seen, to matter. And in modern culture, that will has mutated into performance. Girls dress not just to express, but to exist in the eyes of others. It's not their fault. It's a survival tactic. But it slowly kills the soul. If every outfit is a plea, notice me, want me, approve of me, then what happens when no one looks? Does your value vanish? Or is that the first moment you might be free? Jordan Peterson and the archetype of the false self. Peterson speaks often about chaos and order, about the balance between expressing your individuality and fitting into the structure. But too often, girls are forced into chaos, disguised as freedom. Dress any way you want, as long as it gets attention. The false self is built when you reject who you are to gain social currency. When you wear what others want, say what others like, and suppress your real instincts. Eventually, you don't even know the difference between your taste and your training. You've become a walking collage of culture's expectations. The real root. We've forgotten what beauty is. Beauty isn't exposure. It's not approval. Real beauty is alignment, when your outer self matches your inner truth. But we've been fed poison. We've been told beauty is pain. That confidence is cleavage. That individuality is copying the latest trend. Viktor Frankl would call this an existential vacuum, a crisis of meaning. Girls are seeking purpose through clothing. Because purpose has been stripped away, depth has been replaced by dopamine, real joy by retail therapy. And in this vacuum, the fashion industry thrives. But your soul, it quietly withers. How the system profits from your insecurity. Let's be honest, if you loved yourself fully, would you still need 15 versions of the same outfit? Would you still buy detox tees and waist trainers and skin-tight dresses that make you ache? No. So the system makes sure you never feel enough. They show you models who don't eat. They push trends that expire in weeks. They make you believe every flaw is a sin, and every fix is for sale. It's not just fashion. It's emotional manipulation at scale. So here's what we now see. This issue isn't shallow. It's profoundly human. It's not just about clothes. It's about the soul's cry. To be seen without compromise. We've traced the roots. Jung's shadow, Sartre's gaze, Peterson's archetypes, Huxley's dystopia, Frankl's emptiness. And now, we stand on the edge of a realization. Because these clothes don't just affect your look. They shape your emotions, your memories, your mind. They mold how you move, speak, love, and live. And unless we confront this hidden programming, we'll stay trapped in closets, filled with costumes, never discovering the power of simply being real. But there's more. You haven't seen what these clothes are doing to the world around you. to your relationships, to your future, to society at large. That's what comes next. You didn't notice it the first time. You put on the outfit, smiled at your reflection, snapped a selfie. But something small shifted inside you. Not dramatic, not painful, just subtle. You pulled in your stomach, tilted your face, sucked in your realness. You edited your posture before you edited the photo. And you thought it was nothing. But nothing, repeated 1,000 times, becomes everything. This is how it begins. One outfit, one decision, one compromise. You wear the heels even though they hurt. You post the photo even though you feel fake. You wear the look even though it's not you. And each time you teach your nervous system. It's better to be liked than to be whole. It's better to be admired than to be authentic. It's better to be seen than to be safe. Let's talk about what that does to you. Long term. 1. Body dysmorphia. When the mirror becomes a weapon. When your wardrobe is built around what's flattering, you begin to fear your unflattering moments, the real ones, the raw ones. Every outfit becomes a test, a measuring stick, a silent accusation, and you stop looking at your body as a vessel of life and start seeing it as a problem to fix. Neurologically, your brain starts to rewrite its self-image based on clothing reinforcement. If you only feel pretty in tight dresses or photo filters, your default self begins to feel wrong, even shameful. The mirror, once neutral, now holds you hostage. And what's worse, every time someone compliments you when you're dressed up, but ignores you when you're not, your identity fractures a little more. You're no longer a person. You're a presentation. 2. Emotional disconnection. The soul follows the fabric. We think dressing up is just for fun, but psychology shows that clothes affect cognition. There's even a term, enclothed cognition. It means what you wear influences how you think, feel, and behave. If you wear outfits that feel performative, your emotions will slowly dissociate. You won't cry when you need to. You'll smile when you're exhausted. You'll flirt when you want to be held. Because the outfit doesn't allow grief, or fear, or truth. The costume demands a character, and when you wear that character long enough, you forget you were ever playing. 3. Deeper romantic dysfunction. When attraction becomes transaction. When girls dress in ways that prioritize external appeal over internal alignment, relationships begin with illusion. You attract people who want the image, not the essence. The result? You're loved for how you look, not how you feel. You're valued for your body, not your boundaries. You're desired when you perform, femininity, but dismissed when you reveal fragility. This dynamic rewires your concept of love. It stops being connection and becomes transaction. The body is currency, affection is payment, and intimacy becomes survival. Can real love thrive in that equation? But here's the breakthrough. Once you see the pattern, you can break it. Once you realize these consequences are not coincidences, but systems, you can reclaim your freedom. And once you stop dressing to be seen and start dressing to be whole, everything changes. The ultimate truth, the final most powerful realization, one that doesn't just challenge how you dress, but who you are. You've seen the mirror. You've seen the mask. Now let me show you the door. There's a moment in every life, quiet, unremarkable, almost forgettable, when you look at yourself and whisper, "I don't know who I am anymore." You're not crying. You're not breaking. You're just staring. Maybe it's in the bathroom after a party. Maybe it's at 3 a.m., phone in hand, scrolling past other girls who seem louder, prettier, freer. Maybe it's in the dressing room, where every outfit makes you feel like a lie wrapped in a discount tag. And in that moment, the truth doesn't scream. It just aches. Because the deeper truth, the one we've been circling all along, is this. You were never meant to be consumed. You were meant to be known. The great deception. They told you fashion was freedom, that your body was a billboard. That expression was everything, but authenticity was negotiable. They gave you tools to shape your appearance, but not your soul. They taught you how to seduce, but not how to sit with your own sadness. They taught you how to be looked at, not how to see yourself. And you believed it, not because you were weak, but because you were wise. You were adapting, surviving, trying to find love in a culture built on longing. But now finally you see the structure beneath the skin. And it's time to say what no one dares to say. The way you dress is a spiritual act, not religious, not conservative, not repressed, but sacred. Because every outfit is a conversation between your inner self and the outer world. And the most powerful ones whisper, I know who I am, and I no longer need your permission. The myth of confidence has collapsed. You were sold a vision of confidence that was counterfeit. They told you confidence looked like cleavage, high heels, backless dresses, and bold lips. But they never told you that real confidence might look like loose jeans, no makeup, bare skin, and a soft no. They told you a confident girl owns the room, but they didn't tell you that sometimes she walks out of it when it doesn't feel right. Confidence isn't being the most noticed. It's being the most aligned. It's not about dressing to kill, it's about dressing to heal. From object to subject. The existential flip. Jean-Paul Sartre said, Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. But culture has taught women that they are what others make of them. You've been turned into an object, to be seen, desired, judged, reposted, rejected. But you were never an object. You are a subject, the author, the origin, the observer. And the moment you reclaim that truth, everything unravels. Because suddenly the clothes you once wore to impress start to feel heavy, unnatural, silent betrayals. And in their place, something new is born. A style that feels like home. Not trendy, not perfect, but true. The real revolution. Intention over imitation. The fashion industry will never promote this truth. Because it doesn't sell. You being grounded, peaceful, and authentic doesn't generate profit. But it does generate power. Because when a woman dresses with intention, not imitation, she becomes dangerous, not to herself, but to the systems that thrive on her self-doubt. Every time you choose an outfit that feels like you say to the world, I'm no longer dressing to be controlled. I'm no longer performing for belonging. I'm building a relationship with myself that cannot be edited, filtered, or shamed. Healing begins in the closet. Start here. Go to your wardrobe. Touch every item and ask, does this celebrate my becoming or conceal my absence? Ask, did I buy this when I hated myself? Did I wear this to seduce, distract, compete, disappear? Then, what would I wear if I had nothing to prove? What would I keep if no one was watching? This is where it shifts. You're not just cleaning your closet. You're cleansing your self-perception. You're not getting rid of clothes. You're making room for your essence. A new definition of beauty. Beauty is not visibility. It is not youth. It is not desirability. Beauty is coherence. When what you wear matches who you are. When your style tells your story, not a script written by brands, influencers, or boys. Beauty is a girl who has come home to herself, who no longer performs her confidence but embodies it, who no longer needs to be the prettiest in the room, because she is the room. Silent, whole, unshakable. The final shift. The girl in the mirror. Go back to that moment. That mirror. That girl. She's still there. Not the one wearing the filter. Not the one hoping to be noticed. The real one, quiet, watching, waiting. And she's asking, "Will you finally dress for me?" Not for men. Not for followers. Not for fear. For me. Because she is the one who stays when the makeup fades. The one who knows how to be alone without being lonely. The one who will carry your soul through storms. And she deserves to be seen. Fully. Fiercely. Finally. So here you are. You've undressed the myth. You've dismantled the machine. You've seen the trap for what it is. A stage. Now step off. Stand bar. Not naked. Not exposed. Just whole. Then ask the only question that matters. What do I wear to become who I truly am? And whatever your answer is, start there. Because from this moment on, every stitch, every step, every choice can become a sacred act of returning. To truth, to power, to you. Now it's your turn. What is one thing you're letting go of today? Not just from your closet, but from your identity? Drop it in the comments. Let this be your mirror. And if this series spoke to something raw inside you, share it. Let it reach someone else still dressing her pain. Because the revolution starts small. One outfit, one insight, one soul remembered. You're not here to be seen. You're here to see yourself. And that changes everything.